Welcome back, Recliner Sports Reporters. It is Keep the Change podcast. I'm Mac, and with me, as always, is Robbie. We are back from our nice long vacations, and what a time to be back because that must mean football season is right around the corner. Robbie, how have you been, buddy?
Oh, been doing good. Been fun, man. Got
Uh,
babies almost here, so been getting all prepped up for that. And finished up our T-ball season. That was a blast.
how did RJ finish out for T-ball? Any home runs?
Nah, nah. Well, they basically go base to base, but it he likes it. He's got to be out there throwing 100 pitches a day. 4 days a week right now. So
How's the old
my shoulder.
shoulder then?
I'm thinking about icing again.
That's probably smart. I mean,
It's been a little sore.
yeah, I
Doesn't
think
matter if they're 20 miles an hour from 15, 20 feet. 100 pitches is 100 pitches, and that's a lot.
dude, it's no joke. I'm telling you, I at football practice when I'm throwing with the quarterbacks, arm is toast. Arm is toast. We're just at that age now, man. We're just old now, I guess. Like I think
Yeah,
that's where we are. Um, so it was good seeing you, Orlando. You survived not having a timeshare, right?
third and didn't give in. Told him no. Got out of there pretty quick. Honestly, I'm drawing a blank on his name right now, but the guy that we had that was giving us presentation, he was pretty cool. He was a good dude. He was
Yeah.
laid back. I let him know pretty early on, like not not something we're gonna do. Like, man, we could sit here, we could have a good time, we could chop it up, but there's nothing you're going to do that's going to make me say yes. I'm in sales. Like,
You're
this is what I do
you're a
too.
nice guy, brother, but
Yeah.
we are not doing this.
Yeah.
Um, heck yeah, man. All right. Well, there's been some crazy stuff that's happened this offseason. Today, we are going to break down our favorite division, the AFC North. And each week, we'll kind of just keep giving you the divisions until the season starts. This week will be the AFC North. But before we get into the AFC North, just in specifics, I wanted to hear from you. What has been like your biggest shock this offseason uh, in terms of personnel changes, players, maybe even the draft? There's a lot that's happened, but what has been like, and it's a couple great, but what has been kind of like your biggest surprise or think maybe good move this offseason?
I think the biggest move that caught me off guard this season is Saquon to the Eagles. I mean, those two teams, the Eagles and Giants, do not like each other. They hate each other. And I understand Saquon played at Penn State. He's got ties to the area. I don't I don't know, maybe he was a Philly fan growing up, but I just did not see that coming at all. I thought he was done in New York. I thought he was going to go somewhere else, but never in a million years did I think it would be to another team in the NFC East. So I think that was probably my biggest surprise personnel wise this offseason that really caught me off guard. How about you?
Yeah, I think it's for me, it's what's going on right now in kind of Minnesota and Atlanta with the whole quarterback situation,
Yeah.
in their draft, what they drafted. Um, I don't know. Really Atlanta was the biggest shock to me with drafting a
Why
quarterback.
pay Captain Kirk all that money and then draft Penix in the first round?
Yeah, I I'm really I don't know. That was the biggest move because I feel like they were in a really good draft position that they could have given Kirk a weapon that really and like because then you're looking,
And even if they don't go that route, because they have a lot of weapons on that
that's
offense.
what I'm saying. You
Bijan, Pitts,
Pitts,
London,
yeah.
they have talent on the offense around Kirk already, and I feel like he's going to make those guys take huge strides. Because I'm a huge Captain Kirk supporter. I
Right.
think Kirk is one of the most underrated and underappreciated quarterbacks over the last 10 years. But why take another quarterback in the first round, let alone a quarterback that was what is Penix, 24 years old?
Right.
He's not a young quarterback. This isn't a
No.
developmental guy. It's not. You didn't take Drake May that you think may, in 2, 3 years of learning, be a high caliber starter.
Right.
That doesn't make sense to me.
Yeah,
But
and
even if you don't get him a weapon, there's plenty of stud defensive players that you could have got to help build around that team.
yeah, the Falcons I feel like had a lot of holes to fill, and I thought they had figured the quarterback position out when you go after a guy like Kirk Cousins. Um, yeah, that one really was the big shock to me. I think there's some interesting things across the league right now that I'm excited about, but in terms of like shock and like I'm like that doesn't make sense to me. That doesn't like that Atlanta situation doesn't make sense. And then yeah, the Vikings with like Sam Darnold and right now
Talk
they're
about mid QB room.
yeah, that's going in the JJ McCarthy. Like they came out today, they haven't figured out that they haven't signed those contracts yet for rookies, which and then there's same thing with Caleb Williams right now. There's
He,
like
he just signed.
so he just signed.
He signed. I believe it was last night.
Okay. So you get stuff like that though. That doesn't that start making you feel like there's a little bit of trouble? We're not even starting yet. Uh
And that Vikings team has so much talent.
yeah.
Honestly, they arguably have the best wide receiver one, tight end one combo in the NFL
Yeah.
with Jefferson and Hawkinson. I
They're
mean,
great.
all sorts of talent. Jordan Addison is a number two receiver. He's a top tier number two, and I think is going to take more strides this year. Well, I take that back. I thought was going to take more strides this year, but their quarterback situation, I feel like, is going to be a headache for them in Minnesota. And a couple trips up there, I love Minnesota people. They're some of the nicest people we meet in the world. And they're in the NFC. I was a big fan back in the day when they had Chris Carter, Randy Moss, Dante Culpepper, and Smith at running back. I like the Vikings. They're a fun team to cheer for, but they need to get that quarterback situation figured out. I don't think the quarterback of the future is on that roster currently.
And
And
if
you're
they
wasting prime years of your offensive talent right now.
yeah, and if they don't figure it out, you're going to start losing guys, losing the best wide receiver in the league right now, Justin Jefferson. So, um, that's a big problem. Um, all right, buddy. Well, let's dive right into the AFC North. All right, let's get the teams we hate out of the way. Let's do that. Let's go. Wait, where'd
I
we
think we
go?
lost it.
Boom. Wait, we're somewhere.
Nope, nope.
You know what?
There we go.
I think I unplugged myself. All right, the
Oh,
teams.
back on again.
I know, right? I'm somewhere. Technical
All right.
difficulties. Yeah, we're back somewhere. All right. The teams that for me, let's go with the Ravens. Let's just start with the Ravens. I think that's a good one to start with. Uh for me, it's are they gonna take the success that they had last year, right? Because they clearly showed that they were dominant and what they can do, right? When
Mm-hmm.
Lamar's healthy, Lamar's happy, and you give him,
Derrick Henry now.
yeah, right. So that's a big to me. That backs room because I still can count. You can count Lamar Jackson as a running back. That backs section is really good. Um, what are your kind of thoughts on the Ravens right now? I think for me right now, like on paper, they're the scariest team in the AFC North to
So
me.
yeah, I told you I have two separate rankings. I have my heart and my head. My heart has them finishing third in the AFC North. My head has them finishing first. I agree with you. I think they did it last year. So until somebody else beats them and knocks them off, they have the benefit of the doubt of saying they're the best team in the AFC North. And they didn't lose a ton. And I feel like Derrick Henry in the backfield is it's going to be interesting to see because man, him and Lamar Jackson together, it's got me at a loss of words. I'm not happy about it. I haven't been happy about it since it happened, but as a fan of the game of football, White might be one of the best running, like you were talking, backs combo backfield that we've ever seen in the NFL. So,
Yeah, I think you're. I mean, I was just looking up too, like trying to see like losses they had. Like there really aren't many. Like they have
no,
a lot of guys returning, and the strength of them too, their defense. They've always had a great defense, and they have a lot of
they always,
return. They have a lot of returns, and they picked up a lot of good guys too. So, um, I think offensively they just became a lot more scarier. Because I feel like even with the running backs they had, I wouldn't say they were any guys that were like superstars or like maybe top of the league guys, but they put up stats that were good because Lamar is such a threat when he's back there. So
mm-hmm.
because he's such a threat, he can take so much attention. You can really run the ball, and you could tell a lot of the games that they were dominant in, they could just run the ball and milk the clock and control the time of possession. And to me, like I said, I think they're the top dog in the AFC North right now. They won it last year, and I don't think there's anything that would make me want to say the Baltimore Ravens are going to have a bad year. Like, could they? Sure, but nothing to
No.
me on paper seems like that. To me, they're a scary team. They're a tough team in a really, really tough division. And I think it's the AFC North has to go through them right now. You got to give them the props. As much as I hate it, you got to give them the props right now to say that you have to beat them. Like you have to beat the
and,
Ravens. They're
and
they
even think about it from past perspectives. When the Ravens have had down seasons since they drafted Lamar, it's when he was hurt.
mm-hmm.
Because you take him away and they didn't have anything else to hang their hats on. But at this point, you take away Lamar Jackson, they still have a great offensive line and one of the best running backs in the NFL. So that
Exactly.
that changes things.
And in a assignment sound, usually top of the league defense in all categories.
Mm-hmm.
That's like I said, it's a scary team. It's a scary
Yeah.
team. And I mean, again, to me, I think they've earned it. They've earned that right. And again, I hate Baltimore. I hate them. Nothing, every bit about them. I think their fans are even outrageous sometimes. I mean, what they were screaming at Joe Burrow last year after he hurt his hand, like F Joe Burrow. It's like just
The only good thing about
horrible.
Baltimore is crab cakes.
Yeah, Old Bay.
All
And I don't even
right,
like
let's
Old
move on
Bay.
to another
I don't even
team.
like Old Bay.
Another team we hate now.
But yeah, yeah, that's what I think about the Ravens. But let's move on now to a team that I have no idea what's going on. And I tell you what, this guy always has something up his sleeves. Okay, Mike Tomlin always has something up his sleeves. But I'll tell you right now, I'm like in for this ride about what is going on with the Pittsburgh Steelers. Defensively, their assignments down, right? Like defensively, they have their guys coming back, TJ Watt's coming back. They're going to be fine defensively, but that wasn't their problem last year. Their problem wasn't their defense. I mean, how many
They
games did
couldn't
we see
score.
them? Yeah, like how many times did we see Steelers games? And weirdly enough, it'd be like on a Thursday night. It'd be like, the other teams only got 7 points, 13 points, like that. But the Steelers just couldn't score. Um, and now they went this offseason and big signing of Russell Wilson. That's massive. Like that's I I I think he's a terrible player. I think he's done and gone. But
I don't think he
in,
starts till week 6. I
I
think
would
he's
say
done.
in the terms of the NFL, he's a high profile quarterback. There was a lot of anywhere he landed was going to be talked about. So they went and did that. But then they went and took Fields. And that is when I started thinking, what is going on? Because it made sense with Russ and Pickett. Maybe Russ is there to maybe back off. Maybe Pickett was rushed a little bit too much, and this will be good at least. If anything, if you don't get the playing out of Russ, you might get the mindset and quarterback room out of Russ. But then you bring in this is again, but then you bring in Fields, introduce new character. But I don't know. I don't know how I feel about it. To me, and I want to hear your thoughts next. To me, where I see it as is if they're going to build an offense around Russ, you got to go with a backup that's similar. And Justin Fields is, I would say, just a younger, like, got like what Russ was when he was younger, but more. I think he's got more skills in terms of like throwing arm and ability to make plays than Russ did when he was younger. Um, so that's where my mind's at. But I'm curious as what's your thoughts about the Steelers this year, and what was your thoughts about that quarterback move?
A lot of similar thoughts. So I I've been a Russell Wilson fan for a lot of his career. He's a good guy. He's a good person. Maybe a little corny at times, a little too far, but he's a good person. Never done anything wrong, never said anything wrong, and he's played well for the majority of his career. But I think he's lost it. I don't think there's anything left in the tank there. The little step that he had, you know, just enough zip to get it out there and get the pass in that he had. I feel like he's lost over the last year or two. Mentally, I agree. I still think he can be a great quarterback, can be a great mentor. I think he could make a great coach someday if that's the route that he wanted to go after his playing days are done. Because he knows the game well, he understands it. He's great at reading defenses. I just don't think he has the physical tools that he used to. And honestly, I don't think his physical tools were ever top tier. I think that he was a slightly above average runner and maybe had a little bit above average arm strength at the time. But I think his mind is always what made him a great quarterback, along with those tools together. But I think that Justin Fields has so much more talent than what was shown in Chicago behind that piss poor, terrible offensive line. That organization should be embarrassed for the line that they put him out there. It reminds me of, and I'm going to talk shit about my own team. It reminds me of right after the expansion era when we came back in '99, the Browns with Tim Couch. We destroyed that guy's career. He was so shell shocked. He was beaten so badly. He was running. He'd be on shotgun, and by the time the ball hit his hands, he already had two guys on his O line that were beat. So he had his first step is backwards and trying to run away from a pass rush. You can't be successful in that route. That's what Justin Fields has been dealing with in Chicago. You give
Yeah,
him a good offensive line, and they have weapons in Pittsburgh. I think Justin Fields has what it takes to be, a top 15 quarterback, top 12 quarterback.
and
And with the
culture
Steelers
too.
defense, that's good
Yeah,
enough to win.
yeah. And again, you throw two in the just the culture, right? Like the culture that Mike Tomlin builds. Like there's been just you hear in the media a lot problems in Chicago between ownership and coaching and offense and this. You don't really hear too much. Like last year was like kind of like the first year in a long time that you've heard like coaching drama for the Steelers, and Mike Tomlin handled it. He fired his
How
OC,
many
and that was
head
it.
coaches have the Steelers had in our lifetime?
Yeah, not many. I'm saying that's what I'm saying. Like he's been around the league for a while, so I think that this could be a place, like you said, Justin Fields can be successful. So I think I see the plan. I think I see the plan of what Tomlin did was, hey, this is what we want to do with you, Justin. Russ is going to show you the way, and then you're just going to do it younger and more athletically. But I don't know.
I don't think this is the year for Pittsburgh. I think next year. That's when Fields really fully is given the whole, hey, it's your team. This is you. You're our guy now. I think this year there's going to be a transition somewhere in the season, and they're going to be a 7-10 or a 6-11 team this year. I think this is going to be the worst year Mike Tomlin's had as a head coach.
You
And
think you don't think they break 500, huh?
well, not in the AFC North. No, if they were in another division, they'd have a lot better chance. But I think the other three teams in the league are all going to have winning records.
Um, it's so funny. Yeah, the the difference between the AFC North and the NFC North. Very,
It's two different worlds.
a lot different, and I think Justin Fields is going to realize that very quickly. Yeah, I think the way this plays out, I see the Steelers finishing third or fourth in the division. Uh,
Or
Dead last, huh?
dead last.
um, I think too. I think there's just a lot. I mean, in terms of like question marks for me, there's a lot of questions that if I were to make a preseason prediction, I have too many questions on what are they doing. I have no idea what's going on in Pittsburgh. I have a clear picture of what's going on in Baltimore. They're dangerous, right? I have a pretty good clear picture of what's going on in Cleveland too. The Bengals, I have no idea what's going on with the Steelers. So to me, I have to say, okay, well, you have at least the less figured out right now. So putting you at the bottom. All right. Let's talk about these brownies, man. All right. Start us off.
And it all comes down to Deshaun Watson again this year. Nick Chubb's already back benching, not just, or not, excuse me, benching, squatting over 500 pounds, not just once, just repping it out like it's nothing. He'll be back. I don't think week one, that'd be all right. We don't need him for Dallas. He'll figure it out. We'll get there. We want Nick Chubb week 17, week 18, and in the playoffs. We're not worried about week 1, 2, and 3. But if Deshaun is healthy, and if we can get a glimpse of 2019, 2020 Deshaun Watson before everything went down, my heart says we're first. My head says we're second. We still make the playoffs. So I feel really good. I think the Browns are going to finish with a top 3 defense in the NFL this year. We have all the stars that have been, Miles Garrett, Denzel Ward, one of the best DNs, if not the best player defensively in the NFL, one of the best man cover corners in the NFL. And we have other young guys that are stepping up. Martin Emerson, MJ Emerson, was arguably one of the biggest Pro Bowl snubs last year. Had a great season, phenomenal. In the slot or in the nickel, Newsome out of Northwestern, one of the best nickel corners in the NFL. And Grant Delpit last year, the second half of the season, was finally getting healthy for the first time, and just every single week was taking strides. Where I think he could be a Pro Bowl safety next year. He could be arguably one of the top 5 safeties in the NFL if he could stay healthy. That's what the big if comes down to, is if this Browns defense can stay healthy, because injuries killed them last year. If the Browns defense stays healthy, I don't see any way that they win less than 10, 11 games. Like, that's the basement. The ceiling, I think this team could win 14, 15 games this year. And it comes down to two things: health and Deshaun Watson.
Yeah, and I mean, it's weird. You look at like your roster, um, like Amari
Where's the
Cooper.
weak spot?
Yeah, like Amari Cooper always you picked up Jerry Judy, right? Elijah Moore, um, like
David
Njoku,
and Joku.
one of the best
Fucking
best
love the Chiefs.
one of the best tight ends in the league. Um, Nick Chubb, Jameis
Batman.
Winston. I think really your director of player morale, Jameis Winston, is going to be really your crucial factor. I mean, he embodies the cities that he goes to, and what a city to embody in Cleveland. Um,
Oh boy,
that's I
it's
feel
gonna
like
be fun.
he's already welcome, and I wouldn't be surprised if he's breaking the guitar on one of the games, full uniform, and he's up there and he breaks it and then goes down to silent, I want to be surprised because Jameis is one of the greatest clips creator of all time. Is anything he says is
It's fun.
automatically a viral clip. Um, yeah, again, I mean, Deshaun Watson to me has been so up and down. And I think like with last year, the way it kind of ended, we didn't really get to see that kind of ending for him of like what he could have been last year. I think you have him deep in the season. I think that's a wait. I think you guys make a run there in the playoffs. So we didn't really get to see it because it was like once we started seeing glimpses of it and it was good, then it wasn't. And you're like,
Fucking Roquan Smith.
yeah, you're like, what are we doing here? So I think you're right. I think if you're looking like again, I think you could really point and shoot really at the end of the day at like the winning of the AFC North. And I think you could pick it between the Browns, the Ravens, and Bengals and all have a case for all of them. Um,
Yep.
I think their key is their defense though. I think Deshaun just has to manage games and like not saying he can't do that. And I'm not saying he's a game manager. I'm saying that's legit. The Browns are in a position defensively where if they just have a quarterback that doesn't turn the ball over and can put points on the board, the Browns are, like you said, they could be looking at top 10, top 5 NF team in the NFL behind that defense. And I agree with you. There's nothing that I see in terms of the moves that you guys made that makes me think that the Browns aren't a top 3 defense in the NFL. I mean, you have literally one of the best defensive players in football in Myles Garrett. He is literally a game changer. Your secondary is always strong. I, to me, I don't see a weakness in that Browns defense. The only thing I think is can the offense not lose you guys football games? That's really what I think this comes down to.
Yeah. That's a great point. And we'll see. Hopefully, Ken Dorsey running the offense can change some things. And it seems like for the first time since he's been there, a two-time coach of the year, Kevin Stefanski will no longer be calling the plays.
Yeah,
I think he's a great guy, super intelligent, great football mind. But I feel like trying to run the offense, call the plays, cost him some decisions as far as game management goes as a head coach sometimes that he'd be too focused on trying to do one. He couldn't look at the big picture and maybe made some suspect decisions over the years, but still riding with Stefanski every single day.
yeah. You brought up actually. It's a really good point there. 2 points here. One I want to make. Ken Dorsey. Hope you guys have lots of iPads at the ready. Um, because Ken Dorsey is an iPad crusher.
Launch it.
The second thing, that point about game management, again, what I realized is like me, like I'm an offensive coordinator, right, at the high school level, but I call plays. I couldn't imagine be having to be the head coach and calling the plays because there's things like you have to start arguing with the refs, right? Like you have to manage players, make subs, manage the timeouts, just even like weird things like that. Like having the head coach be able to just focus on the head coach because there's a lot that goes on in play calling. You only have so much time, right? Like you gotta, all right, signal in the play, pick the play, get everything out. You only have about 15 seconds to make those decisions, right? Imagine doing that plus also like dealing with the game as a whole. Yeah, I think that'll be beneficial for them. All right, well, we're on the short end of time here, so let's push on through. All right, the Bengals,
Man,
baby.
man, doesn't some Skyline chili sound great?
It actually really does. And I saw that they're starting to serve breakfast now. I know, right?
Oh,
I saw a picture for it's National Hot Dog Day. That's why it's National Hot Dog Day today on Wednesday here. So chili dog, right? I know, right? I was getting email notifications for that today. The Bengals to me, I think that, I mean, we said it last year, and is if they have Joe Burrow, they're great. If they don't, they're not. And I think that's what this comes down to this year for the Bengals is can you
You see the
what
buzz cut?
yep. Got the buzz cut.
All
He's just
business this year, baby.
he is all business. He's cutting his hair and he's cutting the back of suits. Joe Burrow is changing the game of style right now. But yeah, I think for me, there's clearly going to be some problems next year. This it's for me. This is the Bengals shot. The Bengals have
What are
to
you guys
go.
going to do at T?
That's what I'm saying. You have to go all in. Like it's Super Bowl or bust this year for the Bengals, and I don't know if they're like how like windows get closed, right? Like you have a
Mhm.
window. Like this is their window right now because after this year, Jamar's up, T's probably out. You're going to be paying Jamar a lot, which means you're not really going to be getting, you know, other talent free
A
agent
top tier
in.
too.
So you're going to be relying on draft picks, which is okay, time and training them. So this is it for them. They have all the weapons offensively that you can ask for. How is Joe's arm strength going to hold up? We don't know. This is a freak injury. I don't know if there was another quarterback that's had this injury, so we don't know how his arm strength and his wrist strength is how it's going to translate. But take away all of the offensive stuff and all those questions. To me, it's how well is this defense going to respond? This defense cost Lou Anarumo a head coaching job last year. This defense played terribly. They were
Awful.
last in the league in almost every single stat defensively. They went and made some big pickups. We went and got some guys, but a lot of them are young. A lot of them are changing positions. Like there's some things. Lou is pulling out all the stops right now, but how's that going to translate into the regular season? And again, then you start looking at make like you were even
Who's
saying
running back
about Chubb.
one for you guys this year too?
Who?
Running back one.
Running back one right now is Zach Moss and
Ooh.
uh, Chase Brown. That's where we're at. Like, no,
Hey, you
I
don't run the ball anyway, so
yeah,
whatever.
right. But yeah, Chase Brown and Zach Moss. Those are the two
Okay.
guys right now that are going to be competing at least. Chase Brown had a great end of the year last year.
Mm-hmm.
I thought he stepped up really well. But again, you look at those pieces right now. We don't really have. I want to say a true running back, right? Which if you look at teams like the Bills have run into situations like that when you relied on your passing game too much, you start becoming too one dimensional. The good news is though is we have a very great passing game, but
Yep.
is that going to be enough? I don't know. I'm worried about the season right now, and I'm really worried. So like I'm not feeling confident in the Bengals winning the AFC North. I think as a fan, I think I hope they will, but I'm looking right now at the two teams. I'm looking at you know the Ravens for me is one, and then it's like Browns and Bengals. Where is it going to settle for 2 and 3? I don't know, and I don't know how well our defense is going to hold up this next year. And that's a salty fan talking, right? You're like, God, this guy's a Bengals fan. But tell me, how do you feel? What are your thoughts for the Bengals this year?
So go back to the heart and head ranking. Heart says I want to see you guys finish second, behind us, obviously, but love to see the Bengals finish second. My head says though that you guys end up finishing season third. I think you finish 500 ish, slightly above. And I just think the fact that your offense is so one dimensional is going to come back to bite you guys this year, and losing Mixon is really going to hurt. Joe Mixon may not have put up, blow your brains out numbers that, like, shock you, but he was a respectable running back. And the guy ran hard. If there was a hole there, he was going to get everything he could out of that hole. I think you guys are going into this year with a number 2 and 3 running back. Maybe two twos if Brown's ceilings at that, but I don't think Zach Moss is a number one running back. And yeah, I mean, Jamar and T is an insane 1-2 punch, and Burrow is one of the best quarterbacks when he's healthy in the NFL. But when teams know that there's not much of a threat to run the ball, you're only going to be running it 10 to 12 times a game. I feel like that's going to make it harder on your passing game, and it's going to, you're going to have extra guys back in coverage. I don't know 100%, but I, I just feel like it's going to be a very up and down game season for the Bengals this year.
Yeah,
I could see some games where, you guys are putting up 40 to 50 points in a game. Then I could see there's games where, you guys just can't figure it out, can't click offensively. The pass game, if it's a bad weather game, can't run the ball, can't pass the ball because of the weather. We're in Ohio. There could be games you guys don't score 12 point or 14 points.
I agree with you 100%. I think I think that's really been the storyline too of the Bengals is you'd see them one week put up 40 and then the next week get shut out. Um, yeah, I mean, again, as a fan, I think the Bengals have what it takes to win the division. But also as a sports analysis, like I also see the weaknesses in it, and I think there's a lot of unknowns. I think Joe Burrow is a big unknown right now, and that's just because it's an injury that we really haven't seen people come back from. There's a lot of young O linemen that we haven't yeah, we made moves, but they're young. We don't know how they're going to operate. Uh, we have running backs that have shown potential, but haven't had this true superstar responsibility that they're stepping into. We know what the receivers can do, but can we get them the ball in an effective manner in a league that's a lot of secondaries understand disguising coverages? And then again, right now, to me, there's a big fat question mark on the defense. I think they're making changes. I trust Lou, but to me, I'm worried about the defense until I start seeing them back to where they were on that Super Bowl run year.
Yep. So just to round it all out, I fully agree with all that. So let's hear 1, 2, 3, 4. I'm gonna mix them together here. I'm going Browns, Ravens, Bengals, Steelers. What do you got?
I like it. I'm going. I hate this. I hate to say it. This is my real pick here: Ravens,
Uh,
Browns, Bengals, Steelers.
and that's probably where my head would go, but I let my heart influence that one a little bit. I know we have a chance.
Oh, as a fan, as like a real
I,
fan,
I feel like right now I feel like honestly Ravens are 1A, we're 1B.
there you go.
And I feel
As a
like you
fan, I'm
guys,
picking Bengals all day and Ravens at
yeah,
4. All right. Well, we're about to run out of time, but hey, it was good talking to you. Welcome back, everybody. We'll be back every week. Robbie, have a great rest of your week. And to everyone else, keep the change.